Hello and welcome to the 2022 MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference, Competitive Advantage Talk, presented by Kager, also known as the Kraft Analytics Group. It is my pleasure to introduce the presentation, Braves New World, Marketing in the Metaverse. And please help me welcome Adam Zimmerman, Senior Vice President, Marketing and Content, Atlanta Braves.
Thank you, Nahom. For sure. Thank you. Hey, it's great to see everybody. Great to see some friends out in the audience. How many people started their day with Gary Vee and Michael Rubin? Yeah, that was inspirational. A couple of my takeaways from that presentation. Gary Vee says the macro is there, right? And talking about all things blockchain and NFTs and all things as we think about what the next iteration of the internet is going to be. And Michael Rubin could have made billions of dollars every year selling Red Sox sweatshirts. But he made the pivot to digitally transform his business, and you saw just a couple days ago what his valuation is. So those are a couple themes that I want to talk to you about today, is taking advantage of the macro trends. There's a lot of talk about the metaverse and lots of different definitions of it. But for me, my primary interest is a couple things. It is unquestionably a 3D immersive environment, and it establishes a sense of place. How many property people do I have in the audience? People that work for teams. Okay, lots of us. Place is very important to us, isn't it? It's fundamental to our business model. It's what we do. We drive people to our place. So the idea of thinking about the next generation of place, I think, is incredibly important, and we should commit to it. Now, for some of you who might be English majors in the audience, maybe not so much in this crowd, but for me, I had a little fun with the title of my presentation, right? Braves New World. Yes, I'm a Braves employee. And also a nod to Mr. Aldous Huxley, who really envisioned a brave new world. Maybe not the one that I have. I'm a little bit more optimistic than old Aldous. I don't think it's going to be a terrible, unforgiving future. I think it's going to be one that provides us tremendous opportunities to continue to build community and to move things forward. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is my belief that we should be thinking about digital structures, that everything we do and everything that we have in bricks and mortar, we need to replicate in a digital realm. We need to commit to the idea of digital twins. So let me take you through a little of our personal inspiration. Some of you might have seen in the media, we had an announcement talking about our vision for Digital Truist Park. And we have committed to that. We've committed to that from a premise of R&D. We've committed to that in terms of strategy, of envisioning what the next generation of a business environment that is Web3 and Metaverse-based could look like. And we also, quite frankly, had a lot of inspiration as we rushed in March of 2020. It's so nice to see human beings, because there was a time and a place where we didn't, right? And we rushed to try and figure out in our worlds, in the property world, how to digitize everything that we did, and we realized we were behind. We realized that we should have been thinking about everything that we have in bricks and mortar, every intellectual property asset that we have, and eventually every flesh and blood asset that we have. Why do we not have a digital twin? I like to refer to it as my road to Damascus moment when I watched this. How many people saw the Travis Scott show? All right? That was a mind blower for me. Not only, I threw up a little Taylor Swift stat just to show you what one of the leading artists grossed on a tour, 43 stops, 345. Travis Scott made 20 million. Actually, that's more like a 9-minute show, not 12. So start to think about the implications of what that was. But when you saw that Epic Fortnite committed to a place where a generation of kids saw their first show, their first concert in Fortnite, in the same way that many of us remember where our first show was in bricks and mortar, and that was okay. And we started to understand, what is this metaverse? What are people talking about? Why is there this movement from tech companies in the world to take us to what's next? And most importantly, and something I think in sports we could be better in, is being inspired by what's going on in gaming. Not simply replicating our sport in gaming, but the underpinnings of gaming. Unreal Engine, and what things like Unreal Engine enable us to create. So that was our initial inspiration. Travis Scott, and as we started to unpack this and say, wow, our move to digitization has been hastened by COVID. We need to be here. Here is a use case. Let's start to unpack that, and what does that mean for us? And candidly, what can that mean for the industry? So, when you start to look at this, when you start to get a sense of what our friends at Morgan Stanley would say is the total addressable market for the metaverse, you see that it is an enormous number, estimated at over $8 trillion. And you see some of the subsets, some of which are immediately relevant for us. You heard Michael Rubin talk about apparel this morning. Digital apparel is something that we're seeing in gaming and increasingly being replicated. The move to video games and video streamings and music, and something that we'll talk about here in a few minutes, real estate. Real estate is also something that's really important to teams, right? Your environment, not just your stadia, but where it lives, and how you can digitize your real estate as well. So this was just a massive, again, I come back to what Gary Vee said this morning, gives you a sense of the macro. Now, no surprise here. These 5 companies are leading America in R&D, all in about $150 billion. All right? I think the total market is about north of $500 billion. So a huge chunk of dedication and focus from your big 5. All right? They're pushing hard on R&D. R&D is back. Other companies need to be investing in R&D, particularly sports. All right? The implications of pushing forward and trying to see what's next is the inspiration of some of our greatest business leaders today. So I love this. This is a stat that comes from our friends at The Economist that shows you sort of what they call frontier technologies. What are these companies in particular investing in? And when I pulled this slot, the Microsoft deal with Activision wasn't done. That would obviously be an enormous addition to this list. But you start to see what they are circling and calling frontier technologies. This is where we're going, and this is where we should be leading people. All right? I talked about being inspired by gaming. And again, what can we learn from the underpinnings of gaming? But first and foremost, and many of you know this, let's think about the audience. I just threw up a couple slots here that I think kind of go together in terms of some Twitch data, some Roblox data, and some crypto, just to give you a sense of the numbers and to really point to the transformation that we're seeing in terms of the size and the scale of gaming audiences. What can professional sports learn from that, and what can we apply? How many people in here are gamers? How many people have someone in their family who's a gamer? Okay, to that end, this is an interesting slide that I like. Talks about, again, I put some social platforms up here to kind of show you the amount of time people are spending in these platforms. It's only going up. So not only do you have massive scale, but you have increasing attention on all these different platforms. And again, how can we transfer all of this size and scale into something that's impactful for us? Let you digest this. Interestingly for me, is the gamer gender is getting more and more parity. Younger gamers are increasingly female. Roblox is a big driver of that. And you start to see the amount of people globally who are involved in gaming and how much time they spend and how much money they're spending. All right? So as we look at some of the macro trends that I think are influencing our thinking and leading us down a path of total digitization of sports assets, The market is there, total addressable market. You're being led by some of America's foremost companies in investing in R&D, and you've got the implications of gaming. So that was our premise, and we said, okay, let's commit to this. So I'm going to show you a little beta of something that we built, and it's built in Unreal, but it gives you a sense of what could come next. Now, how many people have been to Atlanta and been to Truist Park? Thank you. How many people from Atlanta? All right, nice to see some Atlanta faces. All right, so for some of you, this will be more real than for others, but what we really committed to, again, understanding the power of gaming, is how could we use Unreal Engine to do
Hello, Braves
this.
fans. I'm Mark Owens, and the future is now. Join the Atlanta Braves as we revolutionize the fan experience with the introduction of digital Truist Park. The Atlanta Braves, in partnership with Major League Baseball and Surreal Events, are launching a first-of-its-kind experience by building Truist Park in the Battery Atlanta in the Metaverse. And stay tuned for more information and official launch dates.
Okay, so I'll be the first to tell a room full of data and analytics experts, we haven't built use cases yet. All right? We will. We're going to. Hopefully I get a chance to come back and present next year or 2 years from now and show you that our grand R&D placement bet in the marketplace is paying off. I am confident that it will. I think the implications of having a third place, I want to talk about commercial real estate here in a second, but giving your fans another place to go and the furtherment of your existing business model is directionally correct. So let's walk through that from a sports business professional perspective. All right, IP in my world, intellectual property, right? What do I own? What can I monetize? Sponsors come to the Braves, okay? We do licensing deals. So how can you extend that thinking of a business model that you know really well into this realm? Give you a stat. Some of you are already participatory in this. The amount of money that is being spent right now in loot boxes and skins and other things in games. Why can't we translate that same thinking into how we manage intellectual property? Because at the end of the day, as leaders, my job is to increasingly show the value of the property that I work for. Right? The backbone of what we do lies in our intellectual property. Why would you not look to digitize all of your IP? Now, this one fascinates me. I want to get to this model of creators, performers here that I'm really inspired by some research that I read from Accenture and Ford Trends, but important to the story is there are millions of people who are fans of our team that will never walk through our gates. They just won't. Okay? Back in the day before the internet, yes, there was a day before the internet, professional teams still are governed by what's called territories. It's fixed geography. The Red Sox have a territory that looks a lot like New England. I have a territory that looks a lot like the South. Okay? I have millions upon millions of fans who love our team, but they're not going to come to my park. But what if they did? Now they can. And what would that look like for fan experience? It would revolutionize it. Millions of people who have never been able to be to my park for whatever reasons, geography, economics, whatever, they're busy. Now they can come and experience an immersive togetherness, collaboration with fellow fans in something like I just showed you. What can we do in those environments? We can replicate what we know. Eventually, down the road, you'll probably have games in these types of environments, okay? In the short term, sponsors can activate, you can run promotions, you can have concerts. That's one of the use cases that we're thinking about. Why wouldn't I replicate what Travis Scott did in Fortnite? Why wouldn't I have artists play our park? So from a fan experience perspective, you can build on that. And then this is what's really interesting, and I've been fascinated when I start to think about the implications of what a Web 3.0 environment can bring us. The opportunity to collaborate with fans, to put things out there, to let people be vested in what we do and how we do it, to build ideas and to be participatory in it. I believe that there's a new paradigm afoot as it relates to fan experience, which for me, fan experience, the backbone, is memory and emotion, okay? With no disrespect to all of the necessary operational considerations that go into fan experience, how quickly ingress and egress, how quickly you get through concession lines, that's not what people remember. People remember what happened that day in that stadium. They remember who they're with. And so again, the furtherment of this type of environment, immersive, 3D, communal, unlocks untapped potential for us as sports business professionals. All right. Basic sports business right here for us to contemplate and think about. All right? If you think about what base package is for how a property makes money, sponsorships. Sponsorships are easily transferable into these environments. In fact, I would suggest that every CMO that we encounter, some of whom might be sitting in this audience, but who are sponsors of our team, have a metaverse strategy, are thinking about how to utilize it. Give them that opportunity. Media rights. We don't know where media rights might go, but you as an IP owner, you creating a venue, you perhaps having a way to monetize your content, your IP, your games in another environment might unlock some future revenue. Merchandise we've talked about. Untold applications of digitizing your merchandise, moving into NFTs, all of what you can unlock as it relates to that. I've made the case for you on facility that the easiest way to imagine this is what we know, which is our structure, right? Our business is built on driving people to a structure where a lot of other revenue streams happen. Why wouldn't we replicate that moving forward? The one I've spotlighted, E, commercial real estate. How many people in a property have a commercial real estate development as a part of their team? Okay, we do. I know the Red Sox are developing one. I know the San Francisco Giants are developing one. The idea of commercial real estate as an asset class has been an addition to your classic sports business model, okay? Owning and operating a commercial real estate district. What happens if you start to digitize that? I'll give you a snapshot of what is going on in the world of digital real estate. And if you believe in the sense of place, if you believe that the largest infrastructure project in the world will be the metaverse, why would you not think about your power as an anchor tenant? What would that look like if you digitized your venue? Where would you go? Would you go to a metaverse? Would people give you a licensing fee to be in their metaverse? Would you create your own metaverse because you have millions of people that you can populate it with? The implications of digital commercial real estate, in addition to a digital facility, I think are untold. All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw this out there for everybody. And I'm the first to tell you I don't know what I don't know, okay? As we build use cases, we'll be able to measure things. What I do know is that building in Unreal is very helpful for that, right? You've got the heat map. You're able to do some real deep tracking as to where someone goes, what they do, what they experience. So that bears watching. I've given you some sense of what a dashboard could start to look like. Shoppable. Ultimately, we're going to get into monetized environments where we're going to offer people the opportunity to buy and purchase things. What sort of data and analytics can we extract from that? And then standard game interactions. So, first to tell you, because this strategy is so nascent, I am confident that robust analytics will follow, and I'm hopeful that many people in this room will help me do that, okay? But the first thing we wanted to do was put the idea of a place in practice. We wanted to put it out there. We wanted to say, what can we do to program this? So we'll see what happens next. So here's what I've got for you to recap. The climate is right. The macro trends are out there. You're seeing that in terms of the total addressable market of what people are predicting the metaverse will be. You're seeing some of America's top companies invest heavily in R&D and say to us, hey, come with us. We're going to build this for you. All right? We think this is what's next. Be there. Be inspired by gaming. What is gaming teaching us? In my mind, the underpinnings of gaming. How can you translate the size and the scale and the attention and, importantly, the gaming engines that are enabling these immersive 3D environments, which are readily available? How can you tap into that? Fully utilize your intellectual property. This is a new medium for you to explore, a new medium for you to monetize. All of what you're used to in real life, in bricks and mortar, you should be able to replicate and monetize at higher margins in these environments. Next generation fan experience. I remain fascinated, again, of the idea of giving millions of fans who are not going to be able to access our bricks and mortar facility the opportunity to do so in a digital realm. The unfolding of a Web3 environment, creators, builders, the opportunity to really partner with your fans, to see what that looks like, to create a generation of fans who are vested in your success because they are participatory in it, perhaps even rewarded, I think have huge implications. And lastly, most importantly, iterate your business model. Okay? We'd be remiss if we didn't start at the end. Our job is to create value for the property. What other mediums should we explore? I gave you the base package that's been in place for about 100 years. We've added over the last decade commercial real estate. And I would suggest the next iteration of your business model is to digitize your core assets, starting with your facility and your commercial real estate. So, as we said, we spend the majority of our time, a huge part of our business model of getting people through the turnstiles. There's an opportunity to get them through digital turnstiles. And I believe, I'd be remiss as a baseball guy if I didn't say this. If we build digital venues, they will come. Thank you. Appreciate that. Nahum, do we have any questions?
Yeah, feel free to raise your hand. I can come over with the mic. I see one over here.
Hi, thanks so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm curious, as you sort of build this metaverse presence, what your expectations are in terms of next-gen fans coming to your physical place.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to create events and opportunities for them to do so. We believe that first and foremost, we can do a series of events to allow people to come and explore. One of the things that's on our roadmap, right now we're doing a tour of all of our CMOs and our corporate partners to give them a sense, because we should as partners. Here's what we've built. Perhaps you've got some activation ideas. We've got some activation ideas for you. And then what I alluded to is we're going to do probably some concerts.
My question is, what are your expectations of next-gen fans to come to your traditional physical real place?
I'm not sure I understand.
You're building out a future in the digital space, right? The metaverse. And so I'm curious whether your expectation is that your future fans will meet you there, or will the physical place still be relevant?
I see. I think what we're going to get is, I think that's a great question. I think what we're going to get is the toggle, right? I think that we should strike the word virtual from our lexicon. We really should, right? Virtual to me suggests something less than. It's almost a pejorative. It's not. I think what we're creating, to your point, is a seamless interaction, and eventually you're going to get a toggle, right? You're going to get people who go from one realm to the next, and over time, the younger you get, the less of a disconnect that's going to become, in my estimation.
We have time for one more question.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. I wanted to ask you, going back to the conversation with Gary Vee earlier this morning and his forecast about the NFT market and the impending crash that he's predicting. And I was just curious what, as you digested that prediction, how you think that might impact your NFT strategy now and in the future and integration in the metaverse.
Great question. I'm a devout Candy disciple, right? So we work closely with Gary Vee and Ruben. As he alluded to that, MLB and Candy have a great partnership. So I'm pleased with what I'm seeing so far.
I think that's it. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.